Word. Welcome to Porch Play Chat, sponsored by the American Association for Promoting the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately called IPA-USA. IPA-USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. As part of our efforts to promote play, we're happy to introduce our Porch Play Chats, and these are conversations that focus on a wide range of topics from experts that are just as passionate about play as we are. You can find the latest Porch Play Chats and learn more about IPA USA by visiting our website at ipausa.org. Up in that top right hand corner, you can click on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and our Instagram account to learn more about us. So I'm Deb Lawrence, the president of IPA USA, and with me on the porch is Lisa Murphy. Hey, Lisa.
Hi, nice to see you again.
Lisa is a board member, and as all of you know, is a huge advocate for play. And joining us on the porch is Joseph Yaure.
Hi.
Joseph has been a teacher in Maryland for the past 5 years, where he's taught everything from world geography to American history to English. And during his time teaching, he's worked to include games and hand on instruction in middle school, which is wonderful, as methods to build connections with students. He's found that the greater his connection is with students, the more willing they are to participate. And any of you who have ever had a middle schooler knows that's very important. Joe is an advocate for hands on learning to foster growth within the classroom and to create an environment that welcomes all students, regardless of interests and passions. So, Joseph, oh my goodness, talk to us about how you use playful learning in the middle school classroom.
So I'm going to start off by saying, I'm going to repeat it a lot, is I'm a giant nerd and I'm very proud of it. I champion it. My students know it right away. And what I like to do is I like to include games in the classroom that are unique for my students, that involve all aspects of their creativity. So we're in the digital world right now. It's fun, not really. It's a thing, and a lot of what we were taught was to use stuff such as like Kahoot, the famous Kahoot, as a way to engage our students. But I found that it doesn't work in the long term. It's a fun Friday morning event for like 5-10 minutes, but they get bored of it. So I sat down and worked and really thought through, what would I have liked as an educator? As an educator, what would I like to teach my students, and what would I have liked as a student to experience? So I created a lot of personal games that are related to things that the kids do in their normal life. For instance, I made a game that was based on the popular trend of Among Us, where they were engaged and involved in discovering I teach about communism in world geography, and we were learning about the Red Scare through that. And it was Among Us has the same type of trends about McCarthyism, and they learn through it. Or we just started an assignment on the Silk Road, and we're doing a Dungeons and Dragons themed adventure where they're creating a character, they're creating the artwork, the backstory, their belief set, and then they're going to be doing adventures along the Silk Road. And it gets them to a hands-on experience and a personal experience that wouldn't be the same if I said, here's a document, read it, here's the PowerPoint, follow it, watch this video. That's how I really started to introduce games in my classroom, and it's really gotten to be successful at building those connections.
Joseph, talk about how your administration is viewing this approach to teaching.
So I'm really blessed to have a really good school system. They're very supportive of trying new things, especially in virtual learning. They're like, whatever you can do to get them engaged, do it. And when I used to teach high school, a lot of the time the students suffered from apathy. You're 17 years old, you're 18 years old, you're done with school. Some of them didn't, had no plans of college, which is, understandable after, 12 years of essays and writing. It gets strenuous. And it was very hard to engage the students. And we didn't have a lot of methods to do it, it felt like, because it was, we still have to get them college ready, stuff like that. But in middle school, they're still in that age where they want to jump into everything. You tell them a new idea, they throw themselves at it. if you give them a new topic, they investigate it themselves. There's a creativity or an inquisitiveness that they still foster. And when I bring stuff like this up to whether it's my administrators or coworkers or teacher friends from other areas, they get really excited because it's ways that those students aren't getting engaged. It's ways that the students aren't experiencing learning normally. Once again, Kahoot's different than a lecture, and that's like the normal experiences they have. But they get really excited when they hear that the kids are creating their own stories, when they're participating in a game where they can live through the experiences in a safe, controlled, open environment. So I personally am very blessed with my staff to have offered so much support. And a lot of the time they've been my guinea pigs. I say, hey, it's Friday night. I know you want to go hang out with other people. You're going to test my lesson for Monday. And they've enjoyed it. I would say most of the time.
So if I'm a middle school teacher and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know where I would begin. You've had decades of playing games, right?
Mhm.
So you come from a board game family, you come from a geeky family that's very intellectual, and so where, like, give us from a start to finish example of one of the games.
Like an example on the games. So I'll do the one that we literally started today. So the one that this has had a ton of success the past 3 years that I've done it. It's based on Dungeons and Dragons, which is a game where it's a role-playing game. You create a character from scratch, and that's who you are. You no longer are Joseph Yaure, Deborah Lawrence, or Lisa Murphy. You are, if you're playing D&D, you might be like Legolas, the elf, something fun. And that game is based on creativity. That game is based on exploring and asking questions and examining the world in a different way. And I created this not Dungeons and Dragons. That's not the start I'm going. I'd have significantly more money if I had done that. But no, the version I created was based off that because I was sitting around with my nerdy friends and someone made a joke, or didn't make a joke. They made a comment. Hey, have you ever done something like this with your students? And I said, yeah. I mean, I've mentioned it before. And they said, no, but like, have you taught with it? And I went, oh my God, I can. So what I did was I researched the backstories of people like Marco Polo. And I'm gonna mispronounce his name, so other historians are gonna be upset at me. But Iba Bantu, which was another explorer who went along the Silk Road, and I researched their experiences, who they interacted with, who was part of their traveling party and stuff like that. And I have my students create those characters in their image. So for instance, I have a couple kids who really they're like, we want to be someone who fights. So I have them create based on guards that were with Marco Polo. Or they're like, I have some students who are very religious, and they're like, well, I want to be a religious person. So I talk about religious. So they create a religious figure who traveled with those people. So it has that historical connection. Marco Polo, the reason he's such a cool historical dude is that he wrote about his journey. So I have them literally encounter the same events that he went through, good and bad, and they have to act out what would happen in that moment. So they run into a bunch of bandits. I don't say, when Marco Polo met bandits, he fought them and it was great. I don't pull up my Ferris Bueller. I say, what do you do? I describe the scene, I show a video, I show images. What would you do in the scene? And the kids get together and they say, all right, we're gonna pay off the bandits. And then there's some more story building with that. Or we're gonna fight them. And then they have a fight and they see who gets hurt and who makes it. Or they say, we try and run away from the bandits on our camels. And they do the adventure throughout. And at the end, the goal, not just to have fun, because that's amazing, is for them to see that connection about the human experience, because those are real events. I didn't just make them up for entertainment's sake. And they can reflect back and say, so this man survived all of that. He spread this knowledge, he taught, and it's like, the idea is it helps it helps strengthen and reinvigorate that inquisitiveness that young children, kindergarten, elementary school, up to lower middle school, they are strong with. And then once they reach middle school, it kind of gets sometimes gets taken away for testing. You know, it kind of gets taken away for essays and lectures. So I've been trying to reinvigorate that inquisitiveness or that creativity. And it's been successful. And it's been, to be honest, as a nerd, I love that I get paid to teach D&D once in a while. Like, dream come true.
Well, and I think the fascinating thing about this, those of us who went through high school or middle school history did not have this experience and did not learn to love history like these students are going to learn to love history and be more interested in engaging in exploration of historical events. And so it, if you were to be if you were to if someone were to be standing in your classroom when and so how long does this Silken Road adventure last? What am I going to be seeing if I'm the principal or I'm a co-teacher and I'm standing in the hallway looking in your door? What do I see happening?
Well, so the really cool thing about all of the games are that the educator, or in my case, I'm speaking in like third person, I am able to really shape how long the lesson is. So, or like how many days it is. So last year I had one class that got very much into it, that they were excited and thrilled because they had seen Stranger Things, which references D&D, and they were like, that's amazing, we're doing it, this feels cool. And we did that for a week. We had another class which was like, Mr. Yaure, to be honest, we're not loving this. And I was able to modify it, and they were still engaged in stuff, but luckily you're able to change it up a little bit because it's a game. It's not like a structured like test or assignment that has to be followed in that way. But the thing that if an administrator was looking in the room, they would see me being, how do I say this in the most polite way to myself? Completely ridiculous. Because you have to be, the other thing that I've really worked on building that connection with the students and creating that environment is be over the top. It's not, you in some ways, education can be a performance because you have to get their attention. I could have the greatest lesson of all time where it's laid out, there's step-by-step planned out, amazing. But if I walk in monotone, sad, tired, clearly I need my third cup of coffee, like, you know, no one's going to be, I'm not going to be engaged. But when I'm doing this lesson, I am doing voices, I am laughing, I'm running around the room. We are as involved as human beings can be. If they're like, I want to stare down the guards and try and scare them, I say, do it, come here, stare me down. And we get involved, we act it out, we experience it. And the reason that that's so successful is because the kids now know that they can express who they are in a safe way. If their teacher is able to act like a fool, and I'm not teasing myself at all, I look sometimes, if they know that their teacher can do that, then they know they can too. Mm-hmm. Also know that it's safe because part of my job is to help them grow emotionally, but they know that if someone's like, oh, Jimmy over there is acting weird, they know that I will be able to point out how double standard it is, or how that's not okay, or how that's disrespectful, because that's how I'm acting. Mm-hmm. And it creates a level of connection that I feel like a lot of other environments don't have, right? You have the high school setting, once again, apathy. It's all the high school I taught at, SAT prep was the biggest, most important class. College readiness was the second most important class. And you just saw kids just give up on it because they just didn't care.
So Joe, one of the other things that has always struck me with the stories that you tell, right? Because you you call and there are these amazing stories with engagement of students. But one thing that is necessary for you to get those stories is how you've built that relationship. Mm-hmm. So how did it start? So you're crazy. I know sometimes you walk in costume.
I
Joe
do.
has a Star Wars decorated room.
Yeah, I have. So as I said, I'm a nerd. I come in dressed as Anakin Skywalker on certain days. I have lightsabers. We have lightsaber fights sometimes with proper protection. You know, like I did that, and I did that more in high school. But I did that in high school. I didn't do that in middle school. But I do those experiences, right? But the thing that I found is those are silly moments, and a lot of other teachers do those silly moments. But the thing that lets that the connection that I have that is a little bit different is I'm very open. And it's never like over the top. It's never like, all right, here's therapy session time, guys. But it's, for instance, if I have a dog who's a little bit older, he gets sick every other day. He's an elderly dog and he has some health problems. So I tell the kids about those experiences with him. And I say, Kylo's not feeling very well today. So, I'm going to be feeding him this and taking care of him. It's actually, his name is actually Kylo Ruff. It's the kid. Yeah. When I adopted him, the kids named him. It was really good. I was proud of them. But so I share those experiences, and then the kids say, I remember what it was like when my old dog got sick, and we go off on a tangent for a couple minutes, and then we go back to the lesson. Or you might even be hearing it now. In my apartment, I have my pipes bang around all the time, and instead of trying to pretend, I say, yeah, I live in an older apartment, the pipes bang around. The kids will tease me, say, oh, I remember when the pipes in my apartment banged around, and then we moved to a nicer place. And it creates a teasing environment where they know that, yes, I'm still their teacher, I'm not their friend, but I'm someone who cares about them because I'm sharing my life. I've had times where, they ask very personal questions, not about me, but about the world, like things that are like, what is your opinion about what's going on in the political world, the racial tensions? And I'm a socialized teacher, so I have to be ready for those things. And, it causes anxiety for some people, right? But for me, I work really hard with students to know that what you say, this is a safe spot. This is not just, okay, we're going to check the box that we talked about this and move on. I've had days where I've spent 40 minutes talking with them about issues of the world. And at the end of the day, I say, guys, do you think I was respectful enough? Is there anything I can do to change? Because I'm a white man from the suburbs of Philly. I did not grow up in the same experiences as my African-American students, as my Hispanic students, or as a woman. And they felt comfortable enough to be like, I think you should research this topic more. Or you were respectful, and it generates that because the more open you are about your weaknesses in ways, willing they are to share theirs. And it always felt weird because when I first started teaching, I wore a suit every single day, suit, tie. I would say I polished my shoes, but that was only like once. But like as fancy as I, and that created a wall between my students a little bit. I looked like an administrator. I looked like not like a principal assistant. I looked like a superintendent walking into the class, right? I was younger, but I still looked way fancier than what the kids expected. And I realized, and then there was one Friday where I came in jeans and college gear, and you would have thought that you would have thought that like I had been switched, like my doppelganger had appeared. They had no idea who I was. They were confused, overwhelmed. They were like, Mr. Yaure, we can't handle change like this, but we like how you look. And so which was kind of hurtful about, did you not like before? It's different, that's fine. But the idea is when you are able to build those personal, like you're able to look more human to them as someone who wears, nice pants and a button up rather than a full suit and tie with polished shoes and, prim and proper hair every single morning. It creates that connection, which then lets us bring back that desire for them to play, the desire for them to get involved. Because if I then say, guys, I created a cool game, they're like, yeah, he kind of looks like a nerd. He kind of, his hair's a little messy, but he's fun. He's human. He must enjoy this too. And it's such a weird thing to be like these small little things build up on each other, but they do. It's like the little building blocks that go up over time. There's no one measure. So there's no magic wand you wave and then suddenly the students love you or they want to be connected to you. But all of these little steps have created an environment where my students know they can have fun and they can laugh and they can make jokes. And it's, in all honesty, it makes my job more enjoyable.
Joseph, so the piece that I think that is important that we try to figure out how to get done is that you write down these games for middle school teachers. And we do a lens
sell them
we sell them, right? Yeah. Think about paying for graduate school, whatever. And and we sell them with a filter that says, and if you're an English teacher, here's
Mhm.
and if you're a math teacher, here's and if you're a, and then I know that you have created um, partnerships with other faculty where sometimes you collaborate together with different disciplines.
Yep.
So can you talk for like, because we have to go to the next one, but can you talk for like 2 minutes on
Yeah.
the collaborations that
And
you've
So
I
developed?
want to I want to say one thing. I want to circle back a little bit to Peter Gray, in that what I'm hearing is an element of playfulness. We're not
Yeah.
compromising the standards. We're not
Yep.
compromising our obligations, our duties, our responsibilities. And we can meet them and supersede them. We can go above and beyond them when we bring an element of playfulness. I mean, we can do that,
Mhm.
but how much more enjoyable it is
Mhm.
when we are not scared of being playful while doing it. We're not compromising one, right? We're not, it's that false dichotomy nonsense, right? It's not one or the other. It's that they go hand in hand. And I'm loving that, especially as a middle school teacher, you're acknowledging the caring piece, the connection piece, the relationship piece. Because I feel like if all of these porch play chats came down to like 2 or 3 common denominators, one of them is definitely that acknowledgement of that. You want to be an effective teacher, you have to care about your students, right?
And
You can teach them and not, be caring, and they totally pick up on that.
I'm going to talk about the collaboration one sec. The one comment I want to make is the playfulness also helps me want to stay in the job.
Sure.
And I think that's a big thing that we see with all schools, especially middle school. People, there's high rates of turnover, and it's silly. It's when you realize that you can create your job to be fun and keep to those high standards. My students are still very successful. It's not like I'm telling you, oh, we play games and then they're all failing. I don't know what's up with that. Like, they're still successful, but it's fun for them, for me. And I have really high rates of participation in a virtual setting where I have 2/3 or 3/4 of my class showing up, which doesn't normally sound good, but in a virtual environment where sometimes people get 50, it's a really different setup. But so, yeah, I want to say it does help. The playfulness does help with those connections.
Sure.
The quick thing
And the acknowledgement that you're not compromising what you're here
Exactly.
to do, just having, because you have a playful spirit.
And with the acknowledgement that they will never forget the Silken Road, right?
Exactly.
They're not. They're going to be on Jeopardy and be like, well, this is because of
Marco Polo, and he was
stuff.
going through.
Yeah, I like when my students, like their older siblings, like they'll be like, "Hey, Miss Yours, in Miss Yours class today, we went on the Silk Road," and I get emails from other students who are like, "We did, like, you're still doing that? That was fantastic!" Like, they're really excited. The one thing I'll say with collaboration, real quick, Deb, is that I'm very blessed with my coworkers are very supportive. My school is phenomenal with support, and they are very willing to be as I said earlier, my guinea pigs or test subjects. But I can also go to them and be like, what are you learning right now in English class? And they say, and look, the point is that we all teach similar things. That helps the kids reinforce the ideas. But we have been able a couple times to structure our games or lessons or environments together in a silly way.
Cool.
And so, for instance, I have one coworker who showed me an example of once again, I'm referencing Among Us because it's very popular nowadays, but an Among Us game, which the kids, when she showed it, the kids really enjoyed, and I was able to use that to give me some more ideas to build upon my own. So when I was a newer teacher, I thought everything had to be done in my own little bubble, that I was a bad teacher if I asked for help, because that showed weakness. Now I go to any person who, I'm sure at this point I've had friends who are like, oh my God, it's Joe again, and just block the number because of how often I call or text or email asking for, what are you doing? What's this advice? How can I help? So the one piece of advice I might give is, if you aren't you don't know as much about games, you're not as nerdy, you're not as geeky, you're still like Dungeons and Dragons, I don't know what that means. Reach out to your friends and coworkers, because I promise you there are people who know about those type of things or know those ideas and can generate those ideas for you. And collaboration creates beautiful, beautiful ideas and can benefit your students completely.
And it goes back to those relationships that you have with your coworkers and the trust that you build with them to create this learning space where everybody wants to participate and you're able to cross pollinate, right, between those different subject areas.
Yeah, so like when my coworkers know that I'm putting in the best effort to take care of my kids, they're extraordinarily excited to help. When my administration sees that I'm, working hard to create an environment of love, compassion, games, but also high rigor, they support me and they offer it. And that's what I like what Lisa said. It's not one or the other, it's putting it together.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it took. I'm still a relatively new teacher. I've been teaching for 5 years, but it's taken about 5 years for me to really see that's how it works. And it makes life for everyone so much better.
Well, and Lisa, it goes back to the stages of teaching, right? And which we could also share with Joe, and he could like weave into the book that he's going to write about all these wonderful games.
I'm down.
Okay, so don't go anywhere. I'm going to
Thank
close
you.
this up, and then don't go anywhere yet.
Sounds good.
So hang in. For more information on other Porch Play Chats or to join IPA USA, please visit our website at IPAUSA.org. And for more information on other Porch Play Chats, you can go to the advocacy page on the IPA USA website, and you'll have the Porch playlist for 2020 of the ones we did last year and the Porch playlist for the ones in 2021. There's a fabulous series that starts on Monday on race and play that I encourage you to go and visit. So until next time, thanks for listening and keep on playing.